And again, the context of this discussion on personal strength is in relation to being a virtuous woman, being a woman of great value and worth. And strength is a very, very, very key factor in being a woman of that type. And the Ephesians scripture that you read, Em, talked to us about being strong in the Lord and the strength of His power. And you can gain an immense amount of strength by putting faith in the right places. See, if we have our faith well placed, strength comes from that placement in faith, because you know that things are going to work out, you know that God is looking out for you, and so forth. But good thoughts. Any other additional thoughts on strength? No? Okay, then let's continue, because we've got a long way to go and not a whole lot of time left. Another, let's read Proverbs 31:18. That's the next verse in this chapter on a virtuous woman.
She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night.
Okay, and from this verse, there's a commentary, and let me just read through this quickly. It says, she's one that makes, this is again Matthew Henry's commentary, she's one that makes what she does turn to a good account by her prudent management of it. She does not toil all night and catch nothing. No, she herself perceives that her merchandise is good. She is sensible that in all her labor there is profit, and that encourages her to go on in it. She perceives that she can make things herself better and cheaper than she can buy them. She finds by observation what branch of her employment brings its best returns, and to that she applies herself most closely. So again, the concept from this verse is that this virtuous woman, this woman of great value and strength, can understand the way things work, and she's willing to be proactive about things rather than reactive. When you're proactive, you act before the event. When you're reactive, you act as a result of an event. And proactivity is generally a way to keep things in order rather than being involved in crisis all the time. Proactivity keeps us out of crisis. Reactivity sort of bails us out when it comes around. Let's take a look at a couple of scriptures before we ask this panel of experts for comments on this proactivity and perceptiveness. A couple of scriptures that give us a sense of perhaps proactivity from a biblical standpoint.
Matthew 7:7-11. Ask and it will be given to you. Search and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened for you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who searches finds. And for everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. Is there anyone among you who, if your child asks for bread, will give a stone? Or if a child asks for fish, will give a snake? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask Him?
Now see, in these verses, Jesus is teaching us to be proactive. He's telling us to ask, to seek, to knock, to look, to explore, to open up, rather than just sort of wait and hope things are going to work out for your best benefit. So there's definitely a proactivity involved here. Just quick before the break, read the next scripture as well. M. First Thessalonians, yes, it's Thessalonians.
Okay, 2:8-9. So deeply do we care for you that we are determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us. You remember our labor and toil, brothers and sisters. We worked night and day so that we may not burden any of you while we proclaimed to you the gospel of God.
And that's a good example of this proactivity, this working very, very hard to accomplish the mission at hand. So, Fred, why don't we go into a break at this point? We're talking about the characteristics of a virtuous woman.
This is Christian Questions on 980 WSUB. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Christian Questions on 980 WSUB with Jonathan and Rick. Filling in for Jonathan this morning are Rick's two daughters, Amy and Emily. Our topic this morning is what makes a virtuous woman. Rick?
Back to you, Rick. Huh? Is that what you were looking to say? She's really getting into this radio personality thing. We are talking about the character qualities of a virtuous woman in Proverbs chapter 31, verses 10 through 29. we're talking about being perceptive and proactive. And we're just, during the break, we were just talking about what does it mean to be perceptive, and how women actually seem to be very naturally bent toward a lot of ability toward being perceptive. Any thoughts, ladies, on this? Any perceptions that you want to share with us? Go ahead.
I think that women have a natural knack for just knowing when things aren't right, or just knowing, like they have this little intuitive thing
And guys are oblivious, right?
Yeah, most guys are. Well, I mean...
Aaron, are you hearing this?
Well, because men don't really have the talent to...
Oh.
No, I'm not trying to insult anyone here, but I mean, when it comes to knowing when things really aren't right, when, let's just say hypothetically, a man and a woman who are in a relationship, married or not, get into a little spat, we'll say. Spat. And the guy messed up, bottom line, and, he asks, so we're okay, right? And fine is the answer. Men, that means no, we are not fine. That is, fine doesn't mean fine all the time. You gotta know that.
Fred, are you writing this down?
Oh, yeah, I've had experience with this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
See, I mean, as time goes on, maybe you'll figure it out, but see,
you get
women...
old like me?
Yeah. Women, you don't need... you don't need to be... They don't always need to be just told exactly, It's like you can tell by just looking at somebody, or just... It's like when you're a mother, you can tell. Like, my mom knows when things aren't right. Which isn't always a good thing for me, but like, she can tell. She has this way that she just knows when something's not right, and it's like she's a psychic or something.
Well, no, she's just perceptive. And then being proactive means you act on that perception rather than you wait for things to unfold. You act ahead of time.
I mean, I just think that that's the way God made it. I mean, you look at any, study in psychology, and there's such a difference between men and women. And that's why, for a whole nother subject, a mother and a father are very important to a child's life, because each parent adds a different aspect to a family. And women tend to be more perceptive than men. Not saying that's a bad thing, but, men may be the stronger sex, per se, but women are perceptive, and they, see things before they, technically can happen. And I think that's just the way God intended it, because, the Bible, says that women are supposed to, be kind of like housewives. So if you're not perceptive and you're raising children, it's not exactly a good thing.
That's not a good combination. You're right. And there's definitely value in what you're saying. I know in our household, your mother, my wife, sees a lot of things early on. And whenever she says, you might want to talk to thus and so, I won't mention any names of our 3 children, 2 of which are here, early on in the circumstance, she's generally right that something needs to be addressed. So there's definitely that perception, and I have learned over time to listen to such things. I'm not always wrong. So anyway, we need to move on, because we've got a lot of ground to cover and not a lot of time to cover it. So perceptive and proactive are a couple of character qualities that are important for a virtuous woman. Next character quality, actually, let's read the scripture. Proverbs 31:19.
She puts her hands into the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle.
Now, I'm going to tell you that this is a symbol of humility. And you say, well, how the heck did you get that? And the answer is because I read the commentary. Okay? The commentary says she lays her own hands to the spindle or spinning wheel, and her hands hold the distaff, which is part of the spinning wheel. She does not reckon either an abridgment of her liberty or a disparagement of her dignity, or at all inconsistent with her repose. The spindle and distaff are here mentioned as her honor, while the ornaments of the daughters of Zion are reckoned up to their reproach. The point is that the work of using the spinning wheel and the spindle were menial tasks.